Yahweh, God and Creator, we welcome us this opportunity to be with your presence, to surrender into the holy nature of your Spirit, to draw your life-giving breath within each and every moment. We trust and know that your presence is with us and surrender into this time to seek your guidance, your counsel, your sustaining grace. We trust in you above all things of the earth or anything of a spiritual nature. And I want to begin by reminding everybody throughout this week's recording that this is the last week of the actual conference call setting. However, we will be providing the recordings through video or podcast, depending upon what I'm able to pull together each week as I'm led by God for the different messages that have been coming forth. And I just want you to know that we are so grateful to each and every one of you for the beautiful feedback that we get through the emails and the replies. And I just have to say that I'm in awe of what the messages stir in people, how they receive clear messages in God's presence as they draw to these messages, the visions and specific details that are provided back to us in the feedback that's been given, sometimes through multiple individuals, sometimes one week. But there's always something amazing that is in perfect alignment with what's unfolding in the week following the call. Ina Marie and I have been astounded by the nature of how everything is so applicable to what's unfolding, both on a spiritual nature and in the form of blessing. And I encourage you to continue to share this information back to us. And again, as time allows me to actually sit down and collect this information and actually put it back into a usable format, I honestly feel that God will bless me in the time to do so, to actually share some of this incredible feedback that people have been giving. It's just with my work demands and the prayer demands and all the responsibilities that have been coming here, it's honestly been kind of challenging to take on the extra time, but I know that God will bless me with the time to share with you the incredible offerings that people have been extending, because some of them just bring tears to your eyes as you're reading them, and I just want to thank God for the incredible community that has formed up here. And I just want to surrender into this time of seeking God's presence and to honestly to delve into a subject this week that is really deep within my heart, and something I was sharing with my son James today, that you've heard this from us many times about the importance of seeking God first. But I need to break this down into a practical sense. And as people are walking life, there is so much stuff that comes in that is of a disruptive or dark nature in our lives, demonic, spiritual influences, different things that are occurring. And we have to become practiced in the ability to look for God's presence in the midst of this, to be trained in such a way that we reach into and gain the ability to embrace God awareness regardless of the things that we see or experience around us. And in the manner in which we touch God in these moments, we will reflect and become the nature of God. And only then will we see God's nature reign over the darkness that we see rising up around us. There's some beautiful songs about the storm. There's some beautiful little catchphrases that people say, that when they say, when it rains, you must learn how to dance in the rain. You can always dance in the hurricane, but you must be within the eye of the hurricane. So what if you center yourself upon the eye of God's presence, the I am? What if you center yourself and seek the very presence of God in each and every breath that you receive? And even though somebody's showing you something of darkness, even though somebody's behaving toward you in some manner of darkness, the sooner you and I can release the image they present to us or the spiritual ground that they're raising up before us, the sooner we will see God's presence. And we will embrace the authority of God's presence in the fullness of love. And we will see the deceptions, the lies, the manipulations, and the things fall away from this person. They will lose gas. They will not be able to function in such a way that will support and credit them in the things that they are presenting to us that are not of truth. If we see storms unfolding on the earth, political turmoil, distress, the sooner we release our participation within it, the greater the presence of God can enter in. If we are awake to God's presence, yet we choose to magnify the things of darkness, we are surrendering the holy nature of God's presence to be the thing that reveals the darkness. We are surrendering over the authority, the holy anointing we have been given, that we know God's presence within us. And since we know God's presence within us, it is not something that we are special or above other people, but we have been graced to know of God's presence. Therefore, it's incumbent upon us to recognize God first in it, whatever it is. As you know, many of us have faced loss in our lives. Many of us are facing challenge in our lives. Many of us have people that we love most dearly that are facing difficulties in their lives. But if we are willing to embrace the spirit of sympathy, we will hold them bound within it. But if we love them so deeply that we can embrace God's presence over what their situation may present us, we will see the change sooner. It is important to remember that embracing God and releasing things within ourselves that we witness in others is where it all began, and where it all begins, and where it must flow out from. If we don't do this, we become the very anchor for things of darkness to remain here. As many of you know, as I lost my son a few years ago, coming up on 3 years now, I had this incredible outpouring of love come into me, and a recognition that I chose not to hold bound within me the spirit of grief, sadness, sorrow, or loss. Because God blessed me to love him so deeply, God first, that I was able to love my son and release him to the place that he is, without becoming an anchor to his presence upon this earth, without limiting the nature of that which he could become in God's presence. If we have a person that is formed somehow, some malady within their body through the form of sickness, cancer, disease of some sort, if we are going to center ourselves upon it and relinquish the power and anointing we hold of God's presence within us, we will become an anchor to hold them bound in that place. However, the storm they present, named as sickness, we can choose God. Now, they may not be healed on an earthly level, but you can become God in their presence. You can become that embrace of love. You can become that embrace of strength. You can become that godly comfort. Because within the storm that they face, God can overpower your being to become everything they need. As I was led to just get up one time and just drive to a hospital somewhere in the middle of, I forget where it was, in upstate New York, I was drawn to just drive to this place. And as I walk into this place, I was not captured in sympathy, loss, sickness, or death with a person, but God guided me into the ICU to come into this place and find a woman I had prayed over months before that was laying there in the final throes of her cancer. God called me to her bedside. As I prayed over her, all of her heaving, all the problems that she was facing, where she was losing her internals out through her lower extremities, that she was coughing and bile and all these different things coming up, I just prayed and God's love overcame it. She was set back into order, shocked the living daylights out of the nurse. Because if we choose the anointing of God's presence, nothing of the earth is more powerful and nothing of a demonic nature is able to sustain. Not by my power, not by my grace, but by the literal reality that God's presence holds greater power. Then, while not embracing sadness or sorrow, not embracing sympathy, God came through me, and I looked at the nurse and said, have you guys done any kind of a vitamin C infusion within her? And she said, no. I said, would you be willing to ask the doctor if he'd be willing to do that? And she said, well, sure. So she checked with the doctor, and the doctor said, sure. Well, what could we lose? Because they thought she was dead, basically, so they gave her an intravenous vitamin C infusion. Within hours, she was sitting up, fully focused and present, and able to go home and be present with her children and sustain with them for over a month. So again, the storm rages. Situations unfold that are not of blessing. Situations we witness throughout the world that are not so great and formed of darkness. It is important to remember that each day we encounter things that are not of blessing. But if we are doing the work of God, we will reach into and gain the ability to embrace God awareness, regardless of the things we see or experience. And in this manner in which we touch God, in these moments, we will reflect the nature of God and become that which God intends us to be. And again, only then will we see His nature reign over the darkness we continue to witness upon this earth. It has to come by holy surrender into that which is God first in all things. Please hear me. This is what we have taught through Grace Healing. It is even if we've had people try to tear us apart and tell us that we are teaching other things, this is the premise within this ground. The very one teaching God brought forth in me in the cosmos image that God gave me when He drew me into a vision with Yeshua, that the one teaching above all teaching is to seek God first, period. That is where all truth emerges from, is to seek God first, and I would add, to allow for God's presence to manifest through you so that all might know of God's glory and the holy anointing that is God's love in every situation, to transform all things of darkness as we release our holds upon them from within this earth. So please breathe deep. Allow not my words to govern you, but the very nature of God's presence within you. For God is not exclusive to me. God is inclusive to all. God's presence is within you. His Spirit is there to govern you. Surrender and allow for the holy nature of God's Spirit to be the strength that you know within you, for God's Spirit to bring the wisdom forth that needs to change or alter the situation that you are encountering, to bring the encouragement forth to know when you should speak in love and when you should draw to a distance and pray for somebody. Allow for God's sustaining grace to be the one thing that you know as you face any issue of discomfort within your body. Seek first God's presence. You will find transformative change within your body. And I will share with you, in my family line, there was debilitating arthritis through the joints of the hands and on through different joints of the body and off into the organs of the body. My body was manifesting these results over this past 2 years to the point where my middle knuckle was swelled to almost 4 times its size, and my left-hand pinky knuckle was swelled almost 2 to 3, 4 times the size, and the pain was excruciating when you would bang it against something. I don't suggest that anybody do this, but I've only sought God in prayer. In prayer, God revealed to me specific things that were out of balance within my diet, that did not align with the nature of how my body was functioning, and I was guided through the steps to release those things. I was guided to fast upon certain things, fast upon certain spiritual things, and to relinquish that which was not of God within me. I've never taken medication, never done anything to alter it, and now, without any change but listening to God in prayer and following God's guidance and wisdom, there is no swelling within any of the joints, any discomfort, no pain, and full ability to close my hand completely, which I could not do for well over a year. So please trust and know that if you are willing to embrace God first, you may be surprised to find the power that you hold within you as God itself, God himself, God, her wisdom, God's holy compassion. Let this be a time where you choose to embrace this above all things of the earth or anything you see revealed of a spiritual nature. And we at Grace Healing stand in the fullness of love for each and every one of you, and raise each and every one of you that reach out in the form of prayer, and also extend prayer for all people that have reached to us in the past. Our intercessor, Deb, reaches into the Book of Blessings each day and records the things that I have been blessed to receive in prayer and the things that she receives in prayer. And again, we record these in the Book of Blessings, not in the nature of the suffrage that was revealed, but as we write them, we seek God, and then God gives us the blessed measure of the prayer, and that is what we record in the book. This is who we are. We are here to serve you. We stand in the fullness of God's love and offer thanksgiving as we surrender now into a prayer to bless each of you upon this day to come and all that God will reveal to you in this week ahead. Yahweh, God and Creator, we offer thanksgiving to know that your Spirit is with us. I know that I, myself, and all of us within Grace Healing commit to you that we will seek you first in all things and sustain within the truth and power of your presence in each and every breath we are given. We choose to embrace your love for the sake of every situation people reveal before us, so that we might know your design for the situation, not what they might be personally experiencing upon the earth. We welcome in your holy compassion as we trust you, praise you, and worship you through your most blessed and holy name. Yahweh, Yeshua, Abun Sur'ul Mirekayu Nishir Gundorochamun, Abantur Kayunies Specifietu Nekayon. Amen. May you each be blessed in a holy day of recognizing God's breath as your sustainer, your strength, your guide. Take care and be blessed, and look for the recording of next week to show up at its normal posting time. Take care in all that you do.